Do you sense that in some way the Christian Holy Bible is also walled off from certain kinds of inquiry, even in American academia?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's a huge amount of scholarship on the Bible, but from all kinds of points of view, this so-called higher criticism. It took a while to do it because for a long time you weren't allowed to say, for example, there were different voices. They now talk about the J and the P depending on the different word for God. Is it Elohim, is it Yahweh, and so on. And even the first person who pointed this out lost his job. It was dangerous to do this in even the history of Western scholarship. But I think in the 21st century, people are pretty free to say what they want about the Bible. People are free to reject it. I found actually the best evidence for my own research was going to Christian bookstores. And there were all these books about apparent contradictions in the Bible, seeming inconsistencies. Books and books of these things, because the Bible scholars noticed that there were these two different versions, 2 of every animal on the ark, 7 of every animal, and they were trying to work out, what was the real version. Of course, there is no correct version from a folklorist point of view. So they gave me all the evidence I needed. All I had to do was to look up their passages, and I saw, yeah, these are 2 different versions of the same story. So they were my research assistants, these people who were trying to reconcile these. I mean, was Jesus' robe purple, or was it magenta? Well, maybe the sun was shining it looked red to this one, and somebody reported. I mean, they go to great lengths to try to reconcile these apparent contradictions. So I think that we live in a pretty free society in that regard, although there are certainly schools where my approach would not be welcome, but that's okay. I'm at Berkeley, we can say what we want here. There's free speech here. We had to fight for it. So I would say that I think that we have pretty much freedom of the press and free speech in the United States on all topics, including the Bible. But it's still touchy. And there are still places, there's still, after all, religious universities, which are pretty doctrinaire, which don't allow for this kind of approach. I'm sure they'd think I'm very blasphemous to do this. But that's okay. Only have one life.
The threats you've gotten, the trouble you've been in, was that for your book on the Quran, or?
No, actually, the Quran, I had no. Probably nobody's read it. I mean, I'm probably safe. Although one Arab scholar wrote me from Hungary. He said it was a terrific book. He said, I think I'm going to try and see if I can get it translated into Arabic. I'm not sure that's such a good idea. My wife was annoyed that I dedicated it to my grandchildren, and hoped there'd be greater religious tolerance and understanding. No, the threats I got, death threats, are not so much in the Bible as in my theory of football as homosexual ritual. That got me a lot of death threats. That was more dangerous than writing about the Bible.